Want to know why the most fascinating ships in Star Citizen have been haunting the roadmap like ghosts for years? Why some concepts are so radical that they would not only challenge the game engine, but literally bring it to its knees? And above all, will you ever see your invested money again in the form of a flyable ship? Then you've come to the right place. We take a detailed look at the impossible giants. These are not simple fighters or freighters. They are flying levels, mobile headquarters, and physical nightmares. We break them down piece by piece. What was the original dream? Where is the technology currently failing? And what replacement ship do you get while you wait? But before we take a look at these flying giants, a quick word about today's video sponsor, Pigeon Spaceport, officially licensed manufacturer of Star Citizen ship models by CIG. These are the same professionals who built the Retribution and Port Olisar models for CitizenCon. Pigeon Spaceport offers a growing number of Star Citizen spaceships, which are high-quality ABS injection molded, extremely detailed, and some even feature movable and interchangeable elements. They come with a metal stand and elegant wooden packaging. If you want to get your hands on one, click the link in the description and use the code Karolinger to save 5%. And now let's start with the flying giants. We'll start right away with a candidate that is often underestimated because at first glance, it looks like a harmless airliner. But under the hood is one of the most powerful and versatile concepts in the entire game. The Crusader Genesis Starliner. Many people think of it as bus travel in space, but that's wrong. The Genesis is a so-called universal force application platform. That means you're not buying a passenger plane, you're buying a modular chassis that Crusader Industries can use for anything. Let's first look at its basic role: passenger transport. We're talking about the Meridian Transit Liner here. Your job is to manage an airline. You have 40 passengers on board. You have economy class, business class, and luxurious VIP cabins. You have to calculate ticket prices against fuel costs, manage the service on board, and ensure that your guests arrive satisfied. That sounds like Sims in space. And that's exactly the problem. For this to work, the game needs extremely complex passenger AI. The NPCs have to board, stow their luggage, go to the toilet, order food, simulate panic during attacks, and ultimately rate your service. As long as the servers are already struggling with stationary NPCs, this feature is out of the question. But now to what was also planned for the ship and makes it all the more exciting: the variants. First, the Starseeker. This is the SWACS variant. SWACS stands for Spaceborne Warning and Control System. Imagine a huge fleet battle. Who coordinates the chaos? The Starseeker. It uses massive sensors to detect enemies long before they are within firing range. It is the brain of the fleet, assigning targets, cracking stealth signatures, and directing the battle. Second, the Star Hunter, the so-called Q ship. It looks like a harmless freighter on radar, but when pirates pull it out of quantum travel, the disguises come off. The Star Hunter is packed with hidden turrets and a vertical missile launch system in its hull. But since we still have to wait a long time for this versatile giant, let's take a look at the current consolation prizes, i.e. the loaner ships we'll be getting instead of the Genesis until its release. If you own a Starliner, you'll currently get a C2 Hercules. It's not a passenger ship, but it's currently one of the best and most versatile transporters in the game. So you're absolutely capable of taking action in the verse. The price check. The Genesis was launched over 10 years ago in 2015 for $400. And it's still $400 today. But don't kid yourself, this is a subcapital class ship. With all these modular options and its new size, we can easily see a price tag of $700 to $900. So maybe it's a good idea to get an upgrade. We're raising the stakes. From logistics to absolute strategic area control. A ship so specialized that it will change the way we fight battles. The Aegis Nautilus. This is not a ship for dogfights. The Nautilus is a strategic mine layer. Its job is area denial. It carries 24 massive size 7 mines in its magazines as standard, and we distinguish between 2 deadly types here. The Tifra mine. This is basically a stationary size 5 torpedo with its own propulsion. When its sensor detects something, it fires and pursues the target. One hit and a fighter or larger ship is history. The Sentry mine. This is an autonomous gun in space that opens fire with 2 lasers, perfect for wearing down the shields of capital ships. But the Nautilus doesn't just drop mines, it's also a minesweeper. It has the Nemo drone system on board. These drones can identify, hack, and safely recover enemy mines, so you can collect and recycle your own minefields after the battle. Imagine this in practice. You seal off a jump point, or you secure your base in the lawless space of Pyro. No one can get to your resources without flying through a ring of death and destruction. The ship itself is no easy target. It has massive armor and a manned size 7 turret. And why are we still waiting so long for this? It all depends on the persistence of countless entities and the lack of drone mechanics. A minefield is useless if the mines disappear or are located on a different mesh. The game has to remember where every single mine is floating in the vast universe, over days or weeks. This requires the full power of server meshing. In addition, the drone mechanics are also still missing for the time being, but we'll come back to that in detail in a moment. One thing is certain, without its mines, the Nautilus would be useless. The current consolation prize as a loner, CIG recently released a massive upgrade here. There used to be a hammerhead. But since the end of 2025, Nautilus owners get an RSI Polaris. You pay for a mine layer and get a full-fledged capital corvette with torpedoes. In addition, there is an Avenger Titan as a shuttle. This is currently one of the most valuable loaner deals in the entire game. The price check. The entry price was steep, $725 at the concept sale in 2019. Currently, it's still at $725, but when this ship goes flight ready, we'll be in the absolute high-end range. We're moving towards Polaris and Perseus here. A final price of around $900 is absolutely realistic. And now we're going to slam on the brakes. We're coming down from the giant ships to the ground of reality, to a vehicle that proves that small in game development can often mean most difficult. The Tumbril Ranger. It's a motorcycle. Sounds simple? Just 2 wheels, an engine, and off you go? Wrong. The Ranger is the victim of the so-called physics blocker. In almost all other games, motorcycles are fake. They have invisible training wheels or a rigid axle to keep them from falling over. But Star Citizen wants fidelity. Physically speaking, the Ranger is an inverse pendulum. That means it has to actively balance itself. When you lean into a curve, real gyroscopic forces come into play. And the server has to calculate this synchronously for all players while you're racing over rocks at 100 miles per hour. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. With the updates to collision physics in Alpha 4.4 and 4.5, the technology is finally ready. The Ranger is coming, and it's the test lab for everything that will roll on 2 wheels in the future. You have 3 options to choose from. The Ranger CV, no civilian. Your pack horse, it has an integrated luggage rack pannier with 0.375 SCU. That's enough for 3 mission crates and loot. It also has an additional tank for double the range. The Ranger RC, racing. The racing machine. Everything has been sacrificed for speed. It has a second auxiliary power unit installed just to overclock the engines and special fans in the wheels to cool the brakes. The Ranger TR, tactical. The combat variant, it has 2 size 1 weapon mounts that are gimbaled. The system helps you aim while you concentrate on driving. The loner. As long as the bike isn't running, you get a Tumbril Cyclone. Depending on the variant, i.e. CV, RC, or TR, you get the matching buggy. The price check. We're talking pocket change here compared to the rest. $35 to $40 in the concept. Forecast at release, maximum $45 to $50. The real value here lies in the collectibles, the Renegade vests from the concept sale, which are extremely rare today. Now take a deep breath. We're going from 0.3 SCU to ships so gigantic that they almost killed Star Citizen's server technology, the MISC Hull-D and the fallen Titan, the Hull-E. Let's be clear. These ships are the reason CIG had to rethink physical cargo. For years, the Hull-E was sold to us as the ultimate king of cargo. The original concept included a number that seems almost absurd today, 98,304 SCU. For comparison, a C2 Hercules carries just under 700, so the Hull-E was supposed to carry as much as 140 Hercules transporters combined. But at the end of 2025, reality set in. The problem is the number of entities. Since patch 3.24, every cargo crate is a physical object. When a Hull-E jumps into a server area with nearly 100,000 individual crates, it's not a delivery, it's a lag bomb that immediately crashes the server. Then there's the economics. If you sell 98,000 units of gold at a station, you would single-handedly set the market price to 0. You would ruin the economy of an entire solar system. The new realistic values for finalization have been drastically reduced but are functional. The Hull-E drops to approximately 12,000 to 16,000 SCU. This is still 10 times that of a C2 and remains the undisputed endgame in the cargo sector. The Hull-D drops to approximately 7,000 SCU, exactly 6,912 SCU according to current plans. For comparison, the currently largest freighter in the game, the Hull-C, already has a capacity of 4,608 SCU. However, these ships are given extremely exciting military roles in return. The Hull-D becomes the official supplier of the UEE fleet as the R4M Quasar. It is built to refuel fighter squadrons at the front and deliver ammunition. The Hull-E can be converted into an orbital defense platform as the R5M Proteus. It does not transport crates but entire space station modules or dismantled ships. At least, that was the original concept vision. The Loners. CIG is offering generous compensation here. For the Hull-D and Hull-E, you get a Hull-C plus AC-2 Hercules. So you get an entire logistics fleet to tide you over while you wait. The price check: Hull-D start $350, current $450, forecast $550 to $600. Hull-E start $550, current $750, forecast between $850 and $950 at release. Let's move on to the grand finale, the absolute fan favorites. We'll start with the ultimate workhorse, the RSI Orion. Forget everything you know about mining in Star Citizen. The Orion isn't a ship you use to crack a rock. It's a mobile industrial space station. The change? Originally, it was 170 meters long. That was in 2015. Today, we know that in order to physically represent the refinery and grinding mills correctly, the ship has grown to a gigantic 340 meters at least. That's double the size. The gameplay is pure logistics. You have the RMAP system for strategic scanning over huge distances, you have swarms of drones that collect the ore, and you have a full-fledged refinery on board that converts raw materials directly into commodities. The Orion doesn't land. It devours asteroid fields completely and moves on. Why are we waiting? Physics. The Orion has massive rotating rings for gravity and ore processing. In the game engine, it is extremely difficult to calculate a physics grid that rotates while players are running around in it. Added to this is the server load. Simulating thousands of ore chunks and drones simultaneously requires maximum-level server meshing. So, we will first see the ship refinery gameplay with the MISC Expanse in the very near future, then wait for the drone mechanics, which will be important for a variety of upcoming and already available ships, such as the Reclaimer, Carrack, and others, before the last blocker has to be solved, server meshing in its final form. The Loners. CIG is playing it safe here. You get the Argo Mole for multi-crew mining, and you also get a MISC Prospector. So, you have the complete mining fleet. Things will get exciting soon. When the RSI Arastra is released, it will most likely become the new loner for the Orion. The price check. The increase is brutal. Starting price in 2015, $325. Current price, already $650. Forecast. A capital mining ship of this size? When the Orion arrives, it will absolutely realistically exceed the $1,000 mark. From industrial dust to pure alien luxury, the ship that broke the hearts of the community, the Banu merchantman. It is considered the holy grail of trade. The idea? You don't just fly cargo from A to B, your ship is the destination. The BMM is a flying bazaar with a 2-story mall inside. Players and NPCs are supposed to land on your ship and shop. It is also a powerful blockade runner, heavily armed with 2 size 8 cannons. Why are we waiting? It's tragic. For years, it was just a picture. In 2022, we finally saw progress. The ship grew to over 237 meters. But then came the shock. The lead art team left CIG. Since the organic Banu aesthetic is extremely difficult to build, CIG has paused development. It is currently on hold until a new team is trained. In addition, the AI technology needed to simulate a lively marketplace is missing. And of course, this also applies to the second lively marketplace, the privateer variant of the Drake Kraken. But you'll hear more details about this in the next video when we talk about concepts that are no longer so far away. The Loners for the merchantmen, those who possess the Holy Grail, will be well compensated. You get the MISC Hull-C and a C2 Hercules for massive cargo transport. And you get the Banu Defender, the alien fighter that escorts the BMM in the lore and also gets a landing pad right here in the ship. The price check? The best investment in Star Citizen history so far. Starting price? A ridiculous $250. Current price? $650. Forecast? Upon release as a capital ship, it will definitely break the $900 to $1,000 mark. And now for the final boss, the ship that combines everything, the MISC Endeavor. Forget everything you think you know about modularity. The Endeavor is not a single spaceship, it is a flying science platform. It consists of 2 parts, the detachable Explorer cockpit and the workshop propulsion section. The modules are insane, to name just a few. The Biodome module, agriculture in space for food or drugs. The Super Collider module, a particle accelerator to overclock ship components. The Hospital module, a fully fledged T1 hospital where players can respawn and find every medical supply imaginable. The telescope array, a massive observatory. The Endeavor is effectively 5 different large ships in one hull. And of course, standards such as a hangar module for a mobile base, storage space, etc. Why are we waiting? It is the final boss of development. Technically, grid-to-grid splitting, so separating the ship, is extremely complex. In addition, almost all gameplay mechanics are still missing. CIG has confirmed that this ship will only be available at the very end, probably after a 1.0 release. The loners. In comparison, what you get here is more of a sham. Just a MISC Starfarer for that heavy ship feeling, but the question is why we're getting a tanker here. And in addition, there's the Drake Cutlass Red, so you can at least use the medical gameplay. However, it would make much more sense here due to its versatility and size to offer a Polaris instead of the Starfarer, for example, and to swap the Cutlass Red for an Apollo. The price check, base price, the empty hull costs $350. Reality, if you want the master set with all the modules, you're already looking at over $1,000 today. A ship for eternity. And here they are. The initially impossible. The giants. Some are technical nightmares, some are victims of their own ambition. But they are the reason why we find this project so fascinating. But what about the ships that are really coming soon? The upcoming concepts for 2026 and 2027 that are already in production and could completely change the meta? That's exactly what we'll be looking at in the next video. We'll take a look at the Drake Ironclad, the new RSI Zeus MR, and the money printing machine RSI Arastra. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the launch of the next generation. Thanks for watching and see you in the verse.